lesson. We all learn from him. I mean, he's not based in the country, but he's always, telling us what to do as young people in the media, and we are very grateful for that guidance, Uncle T and Masane Sise. Well, that's the president just about to, from the National Anthem, he's going to inspect a guard of honor. See the president Felix Afutala sign.
Baraka Bake Aliou, nga mfala Kotoma Kontong, Suleiman Masane Sise, Tariko Mimbondi.
National Anthem is on CD.
Okay.
Pour Gambia ani président fango kadu ñemu sangote mi alan ko san kumalem amanga pour Gambia dama bari ani président fango ko ñemu élection yalla
a falente sign president Fendabe Dunkana sign pour kana animole ñoo kontong then there is a tradition city uncle.
Yes, the tradition, of course, he'll receive a bouquet of flowers.
Yes.
Which is a symbol of peace,
love,
joy, and happiness, being extended by members of the National Assembly. Of course, it's always a love-hate relationship between Parliament and Executive.
Well, he is now second hands with the members of the National Assembly. I can see most of them. The minority leader is there, Samba Jallo, and his colleagues, parliamentarians, second hands with the president. Well, see, Uncle is quite colorful. For the first time, I'm seeing MPs putting on that Gambian flag.
Well,
very symbolic.
Because
symbolic.
I am going to
He's
say,
sending a message.
let me just say something about the flag, and I'll leave the message with you.
Okay.
But our flag just flew very high in Tokyo. I think it is important to talk about the flag.
Yeah.
This flag was created by a Gambian named Palui Thomas of 72 Lehman Street. And he is the father of the legendary broadcaster Marcel Tomasi. I think he won £100 when he designed this flag back in the day. And to see every member of the National Assembly putting on the flag across, I will leave it on to CD to make your final assertion on this one.
Well, CD, here when it be.
Yes, just before we go to the local language, what this is telling us, that each and every member of this assembly is seen as a Gambian and representing the Gambian people. They are in here with their party colors, they are in here with their party ticket. There's no partisan politics in the National Assembly. Very important. And two, is election year. Gambia first. Gambia first.
Just so, briefly in Mandinka City for the sake of our Mandinka viewers.
Mintandi, walonko Gambia mu Gambian kole tati. Député lembe sirin Gambia la député bongola, ibe sirin pour Gambian kole bele. Imantara sirin jang ila parti toyala, imantara sirin jang ila parti kulorola. Ibe sirin jang pro Gambia leye. Andum fana kombe karre fa sama min fan kono nyimu kuler mi alon adarajo warra kaji ko Gambia bemu Gambia kilineti wolo ne tare ko jibe sanji nanu command aliou beren Gambia kolbe kato ke kanka falindro ke jang ñu ne one Gambia nyim fula ko min tandi wolonko ka tandi ko Gambia mu Gambia kolle tati te Gambia dingo Gambia dimbe Syria député bungola e mandara Syria patioje ibe Syria bankole je wodo nye senendro ke Gambia kol kango jamfandi Gambia kol kango jamfata bi parce que min kera député bungola a kera kule mi sewo nin contano drone bi ali
abaraka bake CDCC musi dan won medade TV haji National Assembly ganduda president Adam Barrow o yottima bila yotti non calmide woni ko speaker o Mariam Dial Dentin ko on jabbi mo do National Assembly do wondo joni president homo salmondir he député be de he ligrobe National Assembly do e ma ko natude ka cambaga pour wargo deliver o ganda ko o woni speech mako ganda on holta Gambia nabe law mako hono cadel be kenno hitana yawtude he ko homo état be mbadi pour bada development ganda ko on Gambia e fala onkul we're talking about the developments of this country. The National Assembly, no doubt, has a big role to play in this thing. What are you expecting from the parliamentarians going forward after hearing from the president today?
Well, they will take on bills in the next sessions that are coming forward. Of course, you do know that laws are passed here, and, you know, the president or the executive implements, but laws are enacted here. So this is one very important and crucial organ of government. And if they were sending a message with that flag, they did today. Because to me, what that flag demonstrates, adding to what Sidi has said, the Gambia is the common denominator that binds us all.
Mm-hmm. The president is now having a photo shoot with the parliamentarians. Perhaps for some of them, this might be the last occasion as parliamentarians to witness the sauna as parliamentarians. So it's quite a very important photo shoot there for them with the president.
Sidi, I'll leave that one to you.
Anyway, it may, in the sense that they're going to go back to the people, like I said earlier, in the local language. This year, President Barrow has got something to sell to the Gambian people, and he better sell it well. These parliamentarians too, they have to sell something to their electorates, and they better sell it well, because I think Gambia, where we are now, Gambians are actually doing very well in terms of understanding who represents them and who doesn't represent them. And I think definitely, my brother, Mr. Sise, you cannot just leave it to me alone. But I'm telling you, what Ali said, that's the fact. It is a bargaining. This is a year to bargain. The parliamentarians have to go to their electorates and bargain well. President Barrow has to bargain well. So let's hope they all do well.
I think it is also a time when the electorates ask, what have you done for me lately? And these parliamentarians will have to answer to that question.
Absolutely.
And so does the president. I mean, that's why this speech is as important as any speech he has given, because today he delivers the state of the nation. A nation like every nation that was plagued by COVID-19. I am sure the speechwriters have put in all the fine niceties for him to be able to connect with the Gambian people today.
That's right.
The president is now walking into the National Assembly. Well, I'm afraid we have to thank you so much, Uncle Tian Masena, for coming on this program. We quite appreciate you for dedicating your time to be on this platform. You have really, helped us digest most of the things as far as this whole is concerned. We thank you so much for being on this program. Thank you so much.
The pleasure was mine.
Thank you so much.
Well, Sidi, just briefly, Abadam, the president of the Chamber Kono. Nadral Jube, man, could Lamaka Kumata Bakale, Seno Bunda, Gambel Ngaji, like maybe over 60% Abemu senality. It a fee, some women Tambita, and in some women, it is Seno Bunda.
Akumata Bake, pro Moya Gambia la Sena Bunda Jibe, and me Akumaya and the fan, Wolo Ninan Samoti, or under Sangomin Tambita, Paske Ninan Sango. Aketa sanede mi yalonko ko yala be dunia kono memu COVID-19 wodana taranga seno nyi ngamuta bultang anim bulutanna nyinan sango nyanta muta bulutang anim fulala parce que gambian ko nyanta faham la ko dunia be tembo mento ay lanjurol soto wala njuro meneti soto doyatale soto mankitale ko yabe ko ya fanan dunda molkan so what a better pro na senebunda nyi ay yirwa bake pro saje ko ni dunde dulal to aliou isa foy ko baga soldabe kolaren do moro da kolede bar nataran tolu mfanka na domorol do kuno jang abe kelo kulede mi yalon ko domoro ni woben dolle sambala wora kumaya tabake president be mum ferele lala kaje ko COVID-19 abeti ade ka na fulo la kuofo bara betere fana nga fere ken sanda soto fengol soto na menkeda na balwori wo kumaya tabake woto nyimu kulede mi yalon ko fere mi nyanda kala kala kaje ko mfonsa mfang domorindino mfonsa mfam balunduno wokuma tabake parce que mbete momendo dunia be halo minto mobe be katole ke kan ke fam bonde nyin kole yakon
bari ngaje man sakunda inata ye fam ya fenko talale ka sanno men ngamere womu feroti mana ka kumara bakele
kuma ta parce que seno joran la ka seno ke an joran ni wala mu joran mi ka do ko kala anim fanam fengol mi yalon ko asela seno yirwani me mu jambandoti ngaje la mamme president baro ay tracto jamata ay janjandi senelalia nga kalam da fanan jambando jama fintite anu fanan nyin silo ye jambando da fanan tala la nyaal mi yalon ko jekita ko ay senelal kontanindil wodo wakata ko wolbe anyanda kutukato lalaka kutukato be lala nyaadile wolon price solo mi nyande kala sandirolti tiyoda nin ku kotonglu wole ke fendi mi yalon ko ay marché diandi isa traité dia yalon seno nin traité dia da abedi atal wodon jigete ko president baro abala traité le ke kanjang pour ay diamu gambian ko le isa kanu andu yala programme moje yalla fi andu yake moti mom yalla ko isa tambindi sango min kana
abaraka bake well I'm now joined by my colleague Ansuman Eso Nyasi. Well Eso, good to have you on the program again. I mean loolu naka di seetu si président bi at bi
waaw jërëjëf Aliou di la nuyu di nuyu Sidi ak oncle Masana Tidiane Cissé mi fi jógee léegi ak ñi nga xamante ne ñoo di askanu réew Gambia tey nag bés bu am solo la ci taariki réew mi dara fa nekk bés boo xamante ne baati réew mi moo sas kii di njiiti réew mi ne suy benn yoon si at bi war naa mën a ñëw teew fii ci pencam réew mi nga xamante ne fii lañ am député yi teewal askanu Gambia yëpp réew mi yëpp pour wax ñu fan la réew mi toll ci wàllum jëm kanam lan moo ci nekk jafe-jafe bi nga xamante ne nguur am na ko ak lan moo nekk mbébétam moom ak nguuram li ñu fas yéene def ci biir réew mi ci wàllum liggéey kon bés bu am solo la dafa mel ni nit ki wax la fan nga toll yow ci sa dunda réew mi tey foofu la toll li ma séntu mooy li nga xamante ne la ñëpp di séntu tey dégg ci ki nga xamante ne moo di njiit réew mi ci boppam na dañ ne nettali ci làmmiñu borom la daaxee moom nag bu ñu waxee fu ñu toll en tant que réew dinañ xam ni ñoo def kon mu nekk bés bu am solo.
waaw soo naree xool si different sectors yi am nañ mbéy mi am nañ wàllu wérgu yaram bi am nañ fi yoon wi yow lan moo la gën a ite tey si waxi président bi boo xam ne ñu bari yàgg na jooytu yi fi yoon amin wérgu yaram bi ñu bari ñu ngi ciy jooytu waaye gis na nguur bi ñu ngay def seen jéego pour mën a gis daal askan yi li ñu soxla ñu jox ngeen ko.
waaw wax nga lu am solo ndax bépp secteur boo xam ne mu ngi ci biir réew mi rawatina li jëm ci wàllum li di yokkute njiit réew mi tey dinañu indi leeral mooy comme li ma wax rek ci gannaaw ci fan lañ ci toll lan la nguur soxla pour ñu gën a am jëm kanam ci loolu ak tamit bépp jafe-jafe boo xamante ne ñu ngi ko faa jànkuwanteel li ci mel ni wàllu mbay mi dégg nañ li nga xamante ne wax na ko fi depuis ci atum 2017 18 ñëw ba ren bi nga xamante ne lañ nekk mu di tey bii nañu wax fan lañ toll ci wàllum li di wér-gu-yaram lan moo ci des lan lañ war a def pour gis ne am na ci li di jëm kanam bu ko defee tamit wàllum mbay mi dégg naa fi oncle Sidi muy wax ci lu jëm ci wàllum engrais tracteur yi nga xamante ne nguur joxe woon na ko bu yàggut nañu indi leeral ci loolu tamit ak yeneen mbébét yi nga xamante ne nguuram am na ko pour indi ko ci wàllum lii di yokkute ci wàllum mbay mi tamit jàng bi tamit ci la bokk jàngi diggi doom yi jàng yi kawe yi mu di université yi ak tertiaire institution si loolu tamit na ci indi leeral ndax wax ji bëri woon na lool ci biir réew mi rawatina ci weer yi passé bu ko defee nañu indi leeral ci loolu wax ñu tamit lan la ci nguur dépense lan la fas yéene def pour gis ne am nañ tamit lii di yokkute ak jëm kanam ci wàllum jàng soo ñëwee ci wàllum atte ak yoon justice bi tamit loolu dina ci xuus indiluñ ci tamit ay leeral naka noonu tamit lu jëm ci wàllum kaaraange waaye élection bi nga xamante ne lañ digmal ci tamit xam naa du ñàkk ne kii di njiiti réew mi dina ci bàyyi naka kàddu rawatina ci lu jëm ci wàllum sàmm li nga xamante ne moo di jàmm fii ci biir réew mi ci gannaaw rek dégg nga ci oncle Sidi ak oncle Tidiane ñu ngi doon wax ci lu jëm ci wàllum am solo bi nga xamante ne flag yi réew mi am na ko nit ñi war a mën a bàyyi xel loolu tamit kon bés bu am solo tey ci li di taariki réew mi
waaw so laal nga fu ma jigee moo nekk di issue of justice yi fi àtte bi unlike before gis nañ léegi independence baa ngi fa ñu bari am gannaaw loolu tamit li ëpp ci ñi nga xamante ne ñoo di ay Gambien lañ soo xoolee bërëbu àttekaay bi gën a kawe ci biir réew mi ay Gambien rek a fa ne amul benn doomi réew bi nga xamante ne mu ngi fa loolu jëm kanam la te nekk na loo xamante ne taarik la fii ci biir réew mi ndax mosuñ koo am ci suñ biir taarik kon loolu tamit daanaka mun naa wax ne yokkute la ci lii naka nguuram moom kon bés bu am solo la ci wàllum àtte ak yoon ci wàllum wér-gu-yaram mbay mi ak yeneen buntu yi nga xamante ne buntu liggéeykaay yi ne ci biir réew mi la njiiti réew mi dina ci indi ay leeral kon li ma wax rek ci gàttal taarik la te bés bu am solo la.
nañ xool si dem dëkk bi yi fi yoon yi.
waaw
gis nañ ñu bari yàgg nañ koy joytu ñu bari soo ànd ak président Toosa li ñu de joytu ma nekk yoon lopitaan ay wàllu jànga bi béykat yi mu de yàgg nañ joytu yi fi engrais waaye gis nañ government ñëw nañ indi ay engrais wàññi njëg bi naka nga gisee dem dëkk bi yi fi yoon yi.
leena moom ñu wax ko rek te dee lu jëm ci wàllum lii di dem ak dëkk bokk na si jafe-jafe yi nga xamante ne lañ gën a am ñun as a country ci réew mi fii ndax gis nañ li nga xamante ne moo di yoon yu baaxut yeeg trafic bu bloc bi waaye tamit nguur mu ngi see jël ay jéego ndax bëri na tey yoon yoo xamante ne nguuram moom def na ko fii ci biir réew mi te loolu lu jar a bàyyi xel la lu jar a ràññee la waaye foog naa moom am naa yaakaar ne ci biir kàddoom tey dinañu wax tamit lan la nguuram nekk def pour gis ne lépp loo xamante ne moo di jafe-jafe ci lu jëm ci wàllum dem ak dikk mu nekk loo xamante ne luy yomb la xam naa ne jafe-jafe yi moom du ñàkk loolu fii lañ ko fekk te fii lañ ko bàyyi waaye lan la nguur nekk def pour gis ne loolu wàññee nañ ko wala saafaral nañ koy tamit yaakaar naa ne ci am li leer ci la bañ a yàgg.
Sidi, just a quick one. Ngaje kabring president nata nyimu nyinkara kuti me alanko a promotion Gambian koli comme silo la Kenya lo aba jubel aba buda nyat aba damto ngaje namga a lot is happening especially bolong kono ngaje hakalan silo o bida kanne di ben sanjar silo kono bida kanne no kara baselo bridjolo basse fatoto it la jeroto ñing abe mum falande sifal nat la moli milbe bolong kono
baraka bake aliou silo kumayata bake tanin na wala ka harmadu yiri wande ni sira dinkra kele ibe ga yiro Gambia ngaje ko ngalla njuro suru silo la karola amanke banku bati nin silo suru da tanin nabe sone yala bake bare ngaje mbete momento bi sila jamabe do ku kan surtout santola parce que santola sa tele bije iman jam fanyola julaya sa satanoje safaro sa tarano tema bari be katano misal fe bi marse babe jaran soma marse babe basse marse babe santo sate doto lumoluto ñi ibajele nen silo sotoda mol mi alon ko itolla ka marchandise sol soto isa futano wodin kral to ka wafu bar nen silo man sotoro ibaje marchandise sol te futano la je woto fana ibajele ko safaro non julo ya fana be nasla soto fana be nasla woto silo kumayata bake ko nyasi ya fo nyame ngajele silol min fana be do ku kan ngada baseti anindula ko hakalan silo baseti silo angel sanjal silo jambur silo o sila aning o ay sila jama mi alon ko ya xambe do kula nyimbe kala fenneti ko president baro fon ya fanya ako it will be a turning point for the Gambia odon jikita ko Mr. Nyasi nyimbe kala kula de mi alon ko abe yirwa jamale dindula bankoka nentani na sonya do ku jama abe sonya yala parce que Gambia mu bankule de mi alon ko na fenbe insa baluno menen sa soto no janne wosoto sa keno nyaade nentani na sonya yata mo manyana kole ko soto la kafuta nyoma den silobe keri nyimu kule mi alon ko akumaita pour fana nga bulela kumo no ma yemen fo kiti bungol la kula kiti bungol la fana akumaita bake parce que jama mimbe banko kambe ne Gambia la tala sidula ke men sa sidla talulube jama be kono iman jamano je mi ango loi anen kiti bungol sembo soto katamandiro ke ko nyanda kala nyame ngaje masakunda min bodo jamingel APRC masakunda ya jamal masakunda wato dol sodra kiti bungulu nsafa ko yela nyanto busibul mando ko e nyanda kala nyame boto ngaje sanyi nyin sanyi nano kono kiti bungulu be fambulu andi be marren Gambia kollebul so way min tandi ko Gambia bi mbete momento mbetaka nyatole and wota nyato nyin anyanda continental parce que Gambia dingol lewo do ko tay fawoye Gambia dingol laaje ko tonya mbe jamanu la kono jamano mi yalon ka koleatale oto lafta dunne jamano kono jamano mi yalon ko sa daha soto wo daha nyi dolla ka dim fawla wala harma dingol ni mbeyam fata ne harma dingol je ani mbeyam fata wala hakiloti Gambia dingol bi ya hakilo soto hakilo min timmata ke faw dum bulol kono bulol mi yalon ko asa nyaatuta do ronne dila barata komata dinal wokumayata baki
CDCC ani eso nyasi musi bawon medada QTV ha joni bon do nganda ko woni sudu député be nganda do woni Banjul do nganda president yetima joni oyta onara o National Assembly pour what the deliver ko be ko his state of nation address comme woni waktide woni bila president Barrow ha joni e yi alamu ko yetima dul akki dulaji hewde pour yide dal cadelde yimbe hebanno ido on fo usko e wayno bele san ale kulle laabi ni joni e be ligare nyomi hakalan ko ngal ligade sa yehi ngen sanja ton kare ton ligi on noyat no fewi ngen sanja abane ma hayde jimbala en fof no ligade kawr en fof no ligade sa yehi passe joni passe bridge he passe foto lawon got dum fo ligama he nguri adam baro dum fo ko hunde ngandada yimbe weltima no bete sa ndali kulle celanga kadi alamu ko dadi bawo hebe etade pour be dal yeru nganda woni be hammi e kulle cella be image ko on do commence wadi plan pour be darna ko yada well city the president is now walking into the chamber escorted by the Speaker of the Parliament, Madam Jack Denton, and the Clerk of the Parliament, Modu Sise. I can see the Chief of Protocol there, Alaji Sise, and the security details trying to guide the President as he takes on his chair from where he is going to deliver his much-awaited State of the Nation address. I know any moment from now, the President will start delivering his statement. So, let me hold on direct. I think we have to go to the Parliament. Since the Speaker is now.
With thy abundant cause thy servants, whom thou hast been pleased to call to the performance of important trust in this land. Let thy blessing descend upon us here in this house assembled. Grant us that we may treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner, to promote thy honor and glory, to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of this country and of those whose interests thou hast committed to our charge. Amen. Please can be seated, Your Excellency. My glasses. Wow. Thank you.
Communication from the chair.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of the Gambia, Mr. Adama Barrow. Your Excellency, the Vice President of the Republic of the Gambia. My Lord, the Chief Justice of the Gambia and Justices of the Superior Courts. Honorable members of this August Assembly, honorable ministers herein present, Your Excellencies, former Vice Presidents of the Republic of the Gambia, honorable former speakers of the National Assembly, Your Excellencies, members of the Diplomatic and Consular Corps, service chiefs, the Lord Mayors of Banjul and Kanifing Municipality, senior government officials herein present, regional chief executive officers herein present, traditional leaders, venerable religious leaders, distinguished invited guests, the press, all protocols duly and respectfully observed. Good morning to you all and welcome to the National Assembly. Honorable members, in accordance with Section 77(1) of the 1997 Constitution, His Excellency, Mr. Adama Barrow, President of the Republic of the Gambia, is here today to attend a sitting of this August Assembly and address the current session on the condition of the Gambia, the policies of the government, and the administration of the state. Therefore, on behalf of both sides of the Assembly, and indeed on my own behalf, I welcome warmly His Excellency to the National Assembly. Honorable members, the State of the Nation Address, commonly known as SONA, is a significant event in our parliamentary calendar, as it is an occasion when the Chief Executive of the state will have a direct interaction with the legislature on government's policies and the administration of the state, as well as update the legislature of its legislative agenda. Honorable members, this year will be the 5th State of the Nation address of the President to this August Assembly since he assumed the presidency. And on that note, once more, I wish to welcome His Excellency, the President, to the National Assembly in fulfillment of his constitutional obligations. Your Excellency, thank you very much. And Clerk, can we proceed? Thank you.
Motion. State of the Nation address by His Excellency, the President of the Republic of the Gambia.
Thank you very much. It is my singular honor and pleasure to invite His Excellency, President Adama Barrow, to deliver his address to the National Assembly. Thank you, sir.
First of all, before I proceed, I want us to stand up and observe 1 minute silence for the 2 National Assembly members that we lost during the period.
Thank you. Can we please? Thank you. Thank you very much. Please be seated.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much for those few words. Your Excellency, the Vice President, Madam Speaker, my Lord, the Chief Justice, Secretary General and Head of the Civil Service, Honorable Cabinet members, Honorable members of the National Assembly, Lord Mayor of Banjul, venerable religious leaders, service chiefs, senior government officials, members of the diplomatic and consular corps, members of the media, fellow Gambians, ladies and gentlemen. I am most thankful to the Almighty God for the unique privilege and honor of addressing the legislative arm of the Republic of the Gambia on the performance of my administration. While it is a constitutional requirement for me as head of state to perform this function officially, I do so once again with commitment and conviction to the universal ideals of democracy, good governance, and the rule of law as contained in the Constitution of the country. Today, my address focuses mainly on the critical issues and concerns requiring sustained attention for the development of our dear motherland. However, the significant impact of the pandemic on the government's performance will also feature in my deliberations. On other matters of national interest, the teams are informed by the current national discourse, influenced principally by the people's concerns and development aspirations. The address highlights the need to harness the insightful lessons learned so far for consolidation and planning. The key issues embrace policy program and project intervention, legislative matters affecting this august body, and the needs and expectations of the people. More specifically, they border on critical priorities of our national agenda. The significant accomplishments realized during the 2020-2021 legislative year, and the bottlenecks constraining the attainment of the development goals and objectives specified in our National Development Plan 2018-2021. The address covers all sectors, comprising the satellite institutions of the various government ministries in the Gambia. A brief submission on each sector now follows, beginning with the finance and economic affairs sector. Finance and economic affairs. Madam Speaker, economic growth in the Gambia has been impressive since 2017, with real GDP averaging 6% up to 2019. In 2020, growth was projected at 6.5%, but the pandemic outbreak compelled a revised GDP estimate of minus 1.5%. Despite the economic challenges, domestic resource mobilization in 2020 amounted to an incredible performance of $13.4 billion. Of this, $11.8 billion was tax revenue and $1.8 billion non-tax revenue. Although the pandemic has shown that The economy is vulnerable to shocks. The government remains committed to initiating sound economic policy management. Along these lines, Cabinet approved the medium-term economic fiscal framework 2021-2025 for fiscal policy interventions. In an order development, my administration, through support from UNDP, commissioned an evaluation of Vision 2020 to make recommendations for a long-term development plan. The assessments will guide future development strategies. Madam Speaker, we have engaged most of our external creditors for debt deferral for at least 5 years. Most of them have granted us principal repayment deferral, which is estimated to yield $4.8 billion from 2020 to 2024. The savings made will be invested in the economy to create growth. The government also engaged the G20 Debt Service Suspension Initiative, DSSI, and secured relief from ECOWAS Bank for Investment and Development, Saudi Fund for Development, Kuwaiti Fund for Arab Economic Development, and the People's Republic of China. The DSSI provided relief of $287.24 million in debt service payments for the 2020 fiscal year. Turning to debt management policy and medium-term debt strategy 2020-2024 has been designed for an appropriate medium-term financing path anchored on cost and risk management. Generally, revenue collection fell due to the COVID-19 outbreak. However, grants increased significantly. This came mainly in the form of budget support from development partners, especially the European Union, to ease the economic burden of the pandemic on the government. You will recall that the National Assembly approved a supplementary appropriation bill, SAP, of $2.85 billion. The ministry spent most of the funds to contain the coronavirus. These included stimulus packages for vulnerable Gambians, procurement of personal protective equipment, PPEs, allowances to help frontline workers, and support to deserving public enterprises and sectors. The government provided relief support of food items amounting to $850 million to the most vulnerable. An additional $224 million was approved thereafter as part of the SAP. Stimulus packages for students abroad, businesses, and the tourism sector were factored in the SAP and paid out accordingly. Madam Speaker, Cabinet has approved a public-private partnership PPP bill that is being reviewed before presentation to the National Assembly for enactment. It is tied to the PPP policy and guidelines for procurement processes in accordance with international standards. Finally, government will table a capital markets bill for the consideration of the legislature. The proposal is to establish a stock exchange market and a regulatory authority within the central bank. Basic and secondary education, Madam Speaker. The country continues to make impressive gains on enrollment at all levels of the education sector. Gross enrollment rates have improved by 5.2 percentage points at the lower basic level, 2.4% at the upper basic level, and 1.6% at the senior secondary level. Enrollment for early childhood development is above the National Development Plan NDP target of 50.2% and 52.9% by 4% for male and female enrollment respectively. Through the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education, my government is partnering positively with the World Bank, MRC Holland, and other philanthropists to improve access to quality education. Through such partnerships, 2,173 new classrooms have been completed within these 4 years, and the plan is to complete 134 more by end December 2021. From 2017 to date, the sector renovated 1,389 additional classrooms and built 2,505 toilets across the country. 100 more toilets will be completed by December 2021. Since teacher motivation and welfare contribute to better performance, 836 rooms for teacher accommodation have been built countrywide. Hopefully, the number will increase to 1,000, noting that 200 are due for completion by end December 2021. It is encouraging to state that the sector registered substantial improvements on the pass rate for the 2020 Gambia Basic Education Certificate Examination and the West African Senior School Certificate Examination. We commend the sector for this and encourage the teachers to strive harder to motivate its personnel and reward performance. During the year, the sector created new positions in various cadres and effected mass promotions based on merit. Concerning the Zero Out of School Children Endeavor, the ministry is working with Education Above All Foundation in Qatar and the Office of the First Lady to combat the out of school phenomenon. Similarly, we continue to put more focus on special needs and inclusive education to attain quality education for all. Higher education, research, science, and technology. Madam Speaker, the Ministry of Higher Education, Research, Science, and Technology is pursuing its transformation agenda with vigor. In this regard, the transformation of the Gambia Technical Training Institute, GDTI, into a University of Applied Science and Technology, USET, the upgrading of the Management Development Institute, MDI, into a degree awarding institute, and the integration of Gambia College into the University of the Gambia, UTG, are in progress. In fact, the administrative process has started for the construction works of the new USET structures. Overall, access to higher education for Gambians is increasing rapidly. Currently, there are 1,414 students on scholarship at the University of the Gambia, UTG. We support 600 more students in various tertiary education institutions, and 734 Gambian students are on scholarship abroad. Madam Speaker, the UTG graduated its first batch of doctoral students in public administration through the Nigerian Technical Assistance Program. It has enrolled 2 more cohorts of postgraduate students, one of which is a doctoral degree program in law. I am delighted to report the expected completion of the first 2 lots of the UTG Fraba Banta Campus project this year, 2021. However, the sector is working to mobilize the $22 million US dollars funding gap for the remaining construction works. We hope that the Ndemban Skills Center in Fonyi, West Coast region, will begin operations next academic year to train our youth and equip them with relevant livelihood skills. Interior, Madam Speaker, apart from their regular law enforcement core mandate, the Gambia Police Force, GPF, is engaged in infrastructure development, professional advancement, and training. To increase police management and operational capabilities, the formulation of the institutional policies begun in the last quarter of 2020 is progressing steadily. Fittingly also, a code of conduct for the police has been developed and adopted for the anti-crime unit. Furthermore, an arrest and detention procedure manual is in use after its successful development in collaboration with the Geneva Center for Security Sector Governance. Madam Speaker, the Immigration Department monitors and regulates entry and exit at our border points. Besides issuing relevant identity documents to citizens and residents, despite the pandemic, it is commendable that the department collected $91,980,370 from January to 31st December 2020. On drug control, the National Drug Control Strategy 2019-2023 continues to foster vigilance and action against drug abuse and trafficking. The recent seizures of huge quantities of cocaine and other drugs attest to this. Accordingly, we will continue to support and empowering the agency to perform better and prevent the country from becoming a hub for drug trafficking. Lands, regional governments, and religious affairs. Madam Speaker, in 2020, the Department of Community Development strategically focused on emergency response and recovery. These included capacity building and strengthening their decentralized structures to better address conflicts on land and natural resources, as well as operationalize rent recovery mechanism. The initiatives employed include harnessing positive social norms and the environment. In particular, the sector worked in partnership with the National Nutrition Agency and the Department of Social Welfare to implement the Social Safety Net project. These aside, the 2018-2021 Local Climate Adaptive Living Project, funded by the UNDP, is in progress to reduce poverty through green and resilient climate-smart related interventions. A focus of this project is creating sustainable and equal employment opportunities with attention on the youth and women. The main objective is to enhance their capacity in food processing, handicraft skills, and business enterprise development. Tactically, the project targets the North Bank, Lower River, and Central River regions. I have noted with appreciation that the Department of Community Development is working amicably with the Department of Water Resources and the National Assembly to implement the Climate Smart Rural Water Supply and Sanitation Development Project. Honorable members, land rent collection from hoteliers and other industries dropped due to the COVID-19 lockdown and travel restrictions. Regretfully, therefore, the 2020 revenue performance for this sector stood at $32,913,776. A similar trend is unfolding this year. The impact of COVID-19 was so severe on the regional council that central government had to intervene by providing a salary package for them. To enhance decentralization, the Ministry of Lands, Regional Governments and Religious Affairs is building capacity for ward development committees on planning and budgeting and equipping them with financial management skills and auditing techniques to ease accountability and transparency. This links neatly with the decision of rolling out the IFMIS to area council in order to increase efficiency and effectiveness in fiscal discipline and transparency. The Land and Survey Directorate updated 416 lease files in 2019 and 424 in 2020. We expect a similar trend by the end of 2021. On physical planning and housing, the Kotu Action Area Plan physical survey is 90% complete. The processing of real estate agency applications now takes place at the physical planning headquarters. Similarly, land allocation has reduced drastically with fewer than 5,000 allocations recorded. On legislation, the sector is finalizing the NGO bill for enactment later this year. Fisheries, water resources, and National Assembly matters, Madam Speaker. My administration remains committed to providing access to safe drinking water and releasing timely and accurate weather and climate information. To achieve this, through the support of the African Development Bank, AFDB, the Department of Water Resources will construct and install 1,404 solar-powered pipe water supply systems to provide safe and quality drinking water for additional 400,000 rural residents. With help from the Japanese government, 20 other solar-powered pipe water supply systems will be constructed and installed in 2021 to serve 80,000 persons in rural communities. On legislative matters, government will introduce 2 bills to this August Assembly for a comprehensive water act and to establish a new National Water Resources Management Authority. The National Water Resources Council Act 22 of 1979 is still the main legal instrument for water resource management in the Gambia. Because it is outdated, government is reviewing it and will submit for consideration a bill to establish a meteorological authority. Madam Speaker, the fisheries sector is crucial in diversifying the economy. Thus, it is reviewing its policy and regulatory frameworks to effect sustainable reforms. In the meantime, rehabilitation of the fish ponds in the Jahali layout in Sapu has a production capacity of 10,000 tons of quality fish to mitigate the fish supply deficit in the country. The fish ponds will enhance food and nutritional security in rural communities. Trade, industry, regional integration and employment, Madam Speaker. Despite the constraint posed by the pandemic, the Ministry of Trade, Industry, Regional Integration and Employment registered significant progress on its priority programs. Key among them is the development of a new medium-term plan 2021 to 2025. The ministry also reviewed and updated the 2007 Labour Act to align it with ILO standards and international best practices. It will submit the bill to the National Assembly for consideration. To strengthen labour administration, the sector equally revised and updated the Injuries Compensation and Factories Act and will submit it to this Assembly. Madam Speaker, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, to implement the revised Labour Acts, the Ministry of Trade has established an Employment Service Center at the Department of Labour. This is to facilitate linkages between job seekers and employers. The new 5 years sector strategy plan will help to make the center effective. To promote exports and investment, the ministry, through GAIPA, successfully developed a new national export strategy, 2021-2025. The strategy outlines key priority areas such as agribusiness, fashion, tourism, and fisheries for the Gambia to realize its export development aspirations. In addition, the sector through GAIPA issued 18 special investment certificates, SICs, in 2020. These had a combined investment portfolio of $93,615,493 US and a combined employment capacity of 824 staff members, of which 279 are women. Under the Sea Trades project reported last year, 12 sea trades companies benefited from mini grants, receiving combined support of $2.7 million. In order to strengthen trade cooperation and promotion, the sector produced during the year under review an AFCFTA national implementation strategy to implement the AFCFTA protocol in the country. They also formulated a national regional integration policy and strategy 2020-2025. The two documents focus primarily on production and business expansion for Gambian enterprises. Information and communication technology. Madam Speaker, the COVID-19 pandemic has reinforced the need for increased ICT-driven solutions, so much so that the Ministry of Information and Communication Technology has prioritized the rollout of a national technology hub this year. To strengthen cybersecurity and protect the Gambia's cyberspace, Ministry of Information took the initiative to formulate the cyber crime and data protection and privacy bills. The ministry will table both before this August Assembly once they are finalized. Their enactment will equip the Gambia with the requisite laws to fight cybercrime-related offenses. Madam Speaker, in order to maintain a conducive environment for the media, the government accelerated regulatory and policy reforms over the past year. I am glad that the Access to Information Bill 2019 has now been enacted into law. We also look forward to the enactment of the ICT Act Amendment Bill 2020 by this August Assembly. In addition, in 2019, the government tabled the Criminal Code Amendment Bill before this August body. The objective is to repeal all the draconian media laws that my government inherited. Madam Speaker, it is delightful to announce that the combined effort to enhance the work of the media and respect media freedoms have earned the Gambia a continuous favorable rating during these 4 years. The 2021 Global Press Freedom Ranking of the Gambia, for example, has improved from 9th position in West Africa to 10th in the Sub-Saharan Africa. With the new reforms and the increase in the number of media houses in the country, which now stand at 40 radio stations, 6 television stations, and numerous online outlets, it is evident that the Gambia is in the right direction concerning media freedoms. Petroleum and energy, Madam Speaker. The drilling component of FAR Petronas is now scheduled for 2021. On the other hand, BP announced a significant policy shift of reducing their exploration activities worldwide. My government has reached a settlement with them for their work plan commitments in Block A. Based on this, $30.25 million has been paid to the government as compensation for not fulfilling their obligation to drill a well as per the licensing agreement. BP is expected also to settle the outstanding rental fees and contributions to the training and resource fund. With these settlements from BP, the Block A1 is back on the market for licensing to interested investors. Madam Speaker, despite the COVID-19 outbreak, the electricity subsector registered tremendous improvements on production capacity. The power rental agreement with Car Power and the completion of the 11 megawatts Kotu expansion project have remarkably boosted NAWEC's ability to operate. Thus, they are now able to meet the peak load demand in the Greater Banjul area. Through NAWEC, my government has secured a concessional loan of $22.5 million from the Indian line of credit for the electricity expansion and rehabilitation project in the Greater Banjul area. Meanwhile, the electricity expansion project was completed and inaugurated in November 2020 in Queenala. It provides electricity to over 80 communities in Kiang and the Greater Banjul area earlier in February 2021. The 20 megawatts IDB funded project was inaugurated in Birkama. Up-country, the entire North Bank region and part of the Lower River region now enjoy stable electricity supply. Also, as part of the final phase of the rural electricity expansion project, NAWEC has finally linked the Bansan and Basse subsystems. The recent commissioning of a new 2.7 megawatts engine has centralized supplies in Basse. The capacity that the region now stands above 5 megawatts. To add to the list, under the World Bank supported electricity access project, ECORIP 171 communities will be connected to the network. In the same vein, under the African Development Bank supported project, about 59 rural and peri-urban communities will have access to electricity. In a bid to address the challenges in this sector, NAWEC successfully utilized funds acquired from the Indian line of credit to increase water production and replace 144 kilometers of asbestos pipes throughout the country. Madam Speaker, in May 2021, I laid the foundation stone to upgrade the Brikama Kotu transmission line from 33 kVA to 225 kVA through the World Bank funded Gambia Electricity Restoration and Modernization Project. Additional financing of $43 million from the GRMP project is in hand, and a massive data collection exercise is underway with the Gambia Bureau of Statistics for various operational and transparency purposes. On the AFDB Green Mini Grid, the project identified 10 sites in URR for off-grid connectivity. One of the sites, Nyamanar, already has ongoing project. Madam Speaker, our national company, GNPC, has happily launched its renewable energy project. The project is aligned with the national renewable energy policy for various services, mainly for rural settlements. To sum up, the National Oil Company has already acquired about $209,268 from the UNIDO JEF 5 project to implement a 455.6 KWP solar system project. All this will make a massive difference in the country. Gender, children, and social welfare. Madam Speaker, during the reporting period, the Ministry of Children, Gender, Children, and Social Welfare initiated several legislative and policy developments. One of them is the Strategic and Investment Plan 2021-2025. Additionally, with support from the African Development Bank, formulation of the Gender Equality and Women Empowerment Policy 2021-2030 is in progress. In partnership with the Directorate of Social Welfare and the Department of Community Development, the National Nutrition Agency is leading the NAFA Quick program to support vulnerable households. Madam Speaker, honorable members, supported by UNICEF as part of the COVID-19 response, this ministry assisted 1,000 vulnerable families with children through cash transfers of $1,000 per month for 3 months. Besides this, the ministry provided 575 vulnerable households in the Greater Banjul area with rice and oil in January of this year. Another important initiative is the Women Enterprise Fund, WEF. This is a flagship project of the National Development Plan 2018-2021, with the objective of strengthening the capacity of 10,000 women and girls in micro, small, medium enterprises, MSMEs. The fund provides low-interest credit to women entrepreneurs using a group guarantee macro credit model. The WEF is entirely funded by the government, with $8,315,000 already disbursed to 103 women groups across the country. In August 2021, the Women Enterprise Fund Management Board approved $7 million for 350 women groups who are currently undergoing training on entrepreneurship and business management skills. The fund will be disbursed to the beneficiaries upon completion of the training by the end of August 2021. For September, $10 million will be required to meet the demand for the additional 400 women group assessed. Madam Speaker. In October 2020, the Ministry of Gender, Children, and Social Welfare, acting in partnership with the Office of the Office of the First Lady and the World Food Programme, launched a project to reduce the negative impact of gender-related factors on women working in the fisheries value chain. We expect this partnership to grow usefully. Turning to another intervention, the ministry provided $200,000 support to 80 vulnerable families and 40 vulnerable elderly persons under the Family Strengthening Program. These efforts target sustainable solutions within the sector. Finally, guided by the government's commitment to the concept of inclusiveness, the ministry tabled a bill on disability here in June 2020. It was enacted this year to provide the legal basis for all future government policies and programs to take cognizance of the unique need of differently able persons. Environment, climate change, and natural resources, Madam Speaker. Concentrating on the significant development in this sector, I am pleased to report that the construction work of the ONVG, Soma and Brikama Power substations project are progressing very well. Turning to the environment this year, the government distributed 350,000 polypods and seeds of assorted indigenous tree species to the central nurseries nationwide for breeding. The tree growing project is part of my government's policy to promote an eco-friendly environment. Among other initiatives, through the large-scale ecosystem-based adaptation project, the sector planted 4,000 hectares of degraded agricultural land, supported 40 school orchards, engaged in enrichment, planting in community forests, and embarked on mangrove restoration in CRR and LRR. On legislation, the National Environment Agency finalized the revised National Environment Management Act, the Waste Management Bill, and the Hazardous Chemicals and Pesticides Management Bill, all within the year. To conclude, I hope that the ongoing Global Climate Change Alliance project, funded by the European Union, will strengthen the sector's performance. Youth and sports. Madam Speaker, honorable members, to effectively and efficiently promote youth and sports development, the youth and sports sector is reviewing some of their sector policies. These include the National Sports Policy and various frameworks of the satellite institutions. Among them is a draft 5-year strategic plan 2020-2024 for sports development. In line with the development of the country's human resource base, 3,724 young persons have benefited from skills training. Some of them have already earned skills in construction and related areas. The ministry portfolio profiled 1,000 youths for possible financing support. These achievements are as a result of the partnership bill with NEDI, PIA, and the NYSS. Taking cue from the decentralization policy for youth empowerment, the Youth and Sports Ministry signed a contract to establish agro-food centers and build 9 stadiums, a bakery, and an auto mechanic center this year. Meanwhile, the National Youth Service Scheme is actively engaging and equipping our youth with livelihood skills in various walks of life. Unfortunately, the proposed Youth National Service is on hold due to the pandemic. Despite this setback, the National Youth Council was able to facilitate for over 25,000 youth access to financing, employment, or economic development opportunities offered by YEP and TECIFI partners. To complement this, the Council is mapping and profiling 172 youth organizations into thematic areas for better coordination and facilitation. I must add that over 3,000 youth and schools benefited from migration information and counseling, MIC activities. These include training of school peer education clubs, peer educators and teacher coordinators on migration and MIC. Madam Speaker, the Gambia is doing very well in various international sport competitions such as football, athletics, volleyball, and boxing. For the first time, the nation looks forward to participating in the 2022 CAF tournament, and we do so with enthusiasm and hope. We congratulate all those who raised the Gambian flag high in recent years, including the participants in the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games. What is the problem? foreign affairs, Madam Speaker, at the bilateral level, engagement with countries in the ECOWAS sub-region and beyond, as well as with our development partners globally, are developing very well. To cite examples, my government continues to have strong ties with the countries in the Middle East and the Gulf. The United Arab Emirates, for instance, donated substantial medical items for the fight against COVID-19. Like many other countries, relations between the Gambia and Turkey remain solid and beneficial. We maintain a healthy development cooperation agreement and have signed a protocol on the exchange of land plots for diplomatic missions.
Sorry, Your Excellency. Sorry. I had noticed that an honourable member has been raising his constituency tag on a point of order, which is a parliamentary procedure that I have to listen to him. Can I please?
Honourable Speaker, on which authority?
Sorry, no, please.
On which authority, Honourable Speaker?
No, please.
No.
Let us
Can he please cite the authority?
Please, let us exercise decorum.
Let him cite the authority first.
Please, let us exercise decorum.
Definitely not allowed. If he will not have a you definitely not allowed, but he has to be heard.
He has to be heard. If I did not have the authority, I would not have exercised it. Period. Please. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm rising on clause 17H. Clapping shall not be permitted in the chambers. Thank you.
Honorable Speaker, it's not clapping. Knocking the table is not clapping.
Honourable Speaker.
In the table, we are not clapping here.
We are not clapping.
Order. Please, can we exercise decorum? Please, can we all exercise decorum? Please.
Honourable Speaker, in fact, we are not even clapping. I
am not going to allow any more interventions, please.
No, what I'm saying, what the member is saying is not happening. We are not even clapping.
You see, you have accepted the point of order.
We are not clapping. We are beating the tables, and we are supposed to do that.
The point of order is referring to the gallery. I was going to preempt him, but I wanted to hear him. And it's to the gallery. But honorable members are not clapping.
You overrule him
clapping. But honorable members, please.
Allow me to speak.
My ruling notwithstanding, I am saying let us all exercise decorum. Please, let us all exercise decorum. And we are not...
Member for Ilyasa, you are not giving the floor. Sit down.
Your Excellency, sir.
Yes. But they have to... My administration's engagement with key Asian partners such as India and China, continue to be fruitful. The government of India, for example, generously donated medical items worth over $500,000 to help cope the spread of COVID-19 in the country. Furthermore, they have pledged a grant of $500,000 for crucial projects in our priority areas. Under the framework of FOCAC, the People's Republic of China and the Republic of the Gambia signed in June 2020 an agreement on economic and technical cooperation. In addition, the Chinese government provided a grant of 300 million yen for the National Transmission and Distribution Project. This is a top priority for my administration. The Gambia government is grateful to all its development partners and friends in Europe, Asia, America, Africa, and all parts of the globe. We cherish all relations and partnerships and will work to strengthen them. Office of the Vice President, Madam Speaker. To begin with regulation, in 2020, the Food Safety and Quality Authority developed and gazetted the registration and licensing regulation, and the food fortification regulation. It also drafted 2 regulations on food packaging and alcohol. Last year, in collaboration with the Department of Community Development, the Director of Social Welfare and the National Social Protection Secretariat began implementing the $31 million Social Safety Net project. The project targets very poor persons in the West Coast, North Bank, Central River, Upper River, and Lower River regions. One of the components of the project, NAFA, provide cash transfers of $1,500 each to about 15,600 poor households for 18 months. As part of government efforts to mitigate the impact of the pandemic, 78,359 households in 30 districts received support with a double round of $3,000 cash transfers covering July to October. The National Disaster Management Agency, NDMA, under the Office of the Vice President, continues to engage in providing relief support to households affected by the pandemic in various regions. Regarding disaster, during the reporting period, some victims in the country received support in the form of cash, food and non-food items. Honorable members, the validated National Nutrition Policy 2018-2025 and the draft nutrition bill are scheduled for submission to Cabinet and the National Assembly, respectively, for approval and enactment. Aside from this, the National Population Policy will be revised this year, 2021. On civil service reform, the Personnel Management Office, PMO, aims to maintain an efficient and duly responsive public sector. In this respect, Cabinet has approved the Pay and Grading Review report. The objective of the review is to overhaul the current pay and grading structure of the civil service. PMO has designed a new civil service grading system and a pay and incentive policy to establish, among other things, a realistic minimum monthly salary for civil servants. To repeal the 1950 Pension Act, a new pension bill is before the National Assembly. When enacted, it will address all issues on pension. Importantly also, PMO is working on reintroducing a performance management system in the civil service. Other areas in the civil service reform include conducting financial reviews to streamline and rationalize the mandates of MDAs. Agriculture, Madam Speaker. The government vision is to increase food and nutrition security while enhancing economic growth through the agriculture sector. The Ministry of Agriculture strives, therefore, to increase productivity based on the sustainable use and management of our natural resources. To achieve this, the Agricultural Transformation Program, ATP, has been structured around production and productivity, promotion of value chains, market competitiveness, and youth employment in agriculture. To increase production and support the farming community during the 2020 cropping season, 36,489 bags of fertilizer, 3,751 bags of improved rice varieties, 2,358 bags of groundnuts, 727 bags of maize, 11 bags of findi were procured and made available to our farmers. In preparation for this cropping season, the Ministry of Agriculture through GGC procured a consignment of 20,000 metric tons of fertilizer and delivered it in March 2021. I am proud to say that government also distributed farm implements to farmers to reduce unnecessary hard work and boost production and productivity. The items included power tillers, threshers, and milling and pumping machines. For use this farming season, 50 tractors were distributed recently. To develop the agricultural value chain and marketing promotion, the ATP will continue to promote mechanization by supplying land preparation, seeding, and weeding machines. Implementing the project will upgrade and upscale rice processing by introducing an integrated rice parboiling and milling machines through public-private partnership. The ATP will promote small-scale processing at the level of the farmers. Training small-scale processors will expose them to good processing practices for product safety and quality assurance, besides investments in expanding irrigation facilities. Government will continue to invest in mechanized harvesting methods to stimulate mechanical tracing and reduce the workload on women. Rightly too, the sector put due emphasis on supporting medium-scale businesses, processing facilities, strengthening public and private sector veterinary service delivery, and efficient management of resources. On a parallel development from its $100 million supplementary budget allocation, the agriculture sector spent $60 million on equipment. On the list, we are tracing and milling machines, power tillers, harvesters, and pumping machines for irrigation. Aside from this, drought animals were purchased and distributed to the farmers on demand. Specific to value chain financing, the program will expand margin grant funds using grassroots structures such as credit union. Similarly, it is hoped that initiating at least 5 agricultural insurance schemes will make agricultural lending safer. Through PPP, the program will provide seed money for these schemes. On the other hand, the PPP will entrust the partner private sector insurance body with the management responsibilities. Besides, it will facilitate establishing an agricultural development bank that focuses on development financing for agricultural value chain. Tourism and culture, Madam Speaker. The indication is that the tourism and culture sector contributes about 25% of the gross domestic product, GDP, and creates employment for about 200,000 jobs. Unfortunately, it is one of the hardest hit sectors as a result of travel restrictions. Overall, the estimated loss to the sector from January to June 2020 was about $6.7 billion. This figure has undoubtedly increased, noting that many establishments are still struggling to get back to full operations. In 2020, the Gambia Tourism Board's GTB recorded 89,232 arrivals. The figure marks a significant decline against the NDP target. In 2021, the arrival figure further decreased to 50,000. Consequently, the loss of revenue to GTB is high. As part of its support packages, government gave the tourism sector a $100 million stimulus package. This year, the government will bear the operating license for hotels and municipal rates. The GTB is not expecting any revenue from operational license in 2021. The National Center for Arts and Culture experienced similar setbacks during the year under review. The closing or scaling down of social events resulted in loss of revenue. Thus, it is necessary to develop the sector through innovative means. Defense, Madam Speaker. The development of the national security policy. The national security strategy and the security sector reform strategy. This sector is a major step towards a landmark transformation of the security services. To reinforce this, the Ministry of Defense is developing a national defense policy. In like manner, the Gambia Armed Forces Act, which came into existence in 1984, and the terms and conditions of service for officers and soldiers developed in 1993 are all under review to meet the realities of the day, Madam Speaker. The Gambia Armed Forces, GAF, leadership demonstrated commendable solidarity with other sectors to tackle the pandemic. For example, the GAF command attached medical doctors and other essential personnel to the Public Health Emergency Operations Center of the Ministry of Health. Similarly, they provided logistical support and participated in various activities to control the spread of the pandemic. As part of the security sector reform process, we will continue to embark on more purposeful and realistic training programs for our armed forces. We have entrusted them with the security of the nation and will support them to the fullest. Transport, works, and infrastructure, Madam Speaker. Despite the COVID-19 pandemic, the transport, works, and infrastructure sector registered impressive results. By the end of 2020, government had achieved 100% completion of the 818-kilometer primary road network set in the NDP. This covers the north and south banks of the country. In addition to a paved distance of 650 kilometers also completed 120 kilometers of the Lamin-Koto-Pasamas road and the 48-kilometer road from Basse to Koen. Complementing the Lamin-Koto-Pasamas road is a secondary paved road of 13 kilometers connecting Yerobawol to Basse. Another link to the Lamin-Koto-Pasamas road is an 18-kilometer paved distance from Kellen Johnson to Bustau. Added to the network of the Lamin-Koto-Pasamas project are two gravel feeder roads of about 20 kilometers. These comprise the Sare-Teneng-Sarengai road link and the Nyakoi-Mbaikunda-Daslame link. With the primary road network completed, the sector is engaging in constructing secondary and tertiary road links and bridges. Along the new Basse-Koina road, two new bridges at the Chamoy and Suduwol, 25 meters and 32 meters long respectively, have been completed this year. In Basse, a 250-meter bridge and another 170-meter bridge in Fatoto have been completed. This $82 million project was financed through a grant from the government of the People's Republic of China. Following the completion of the Sukuta-Jambanjeli secondary link road of 13.5 kilometers, the government is constructing 108 kilometers of feeder roads to ease and expand access to economic and social facilities in various parts of rural Gambia. This project, funded through the EU UNOP grant, has been completed. We have initiated major secondary paved roads on the North Bank, mainly using local resources and funding. Currently, works are in progress to construct 88 kilometers of paved roads in the Nyomi-Hakalang area. Accompanying this is an other set of roads totaling to 175 kilometers. The contract was awarded in January 2020 to be completed in 16 months. Madam Speaker, the construction of the Kiang West roads has commenced with 38 kilometers of paved roads. The execution period is 12 calendar months. Negotiations are underway for the contractor to continue with the remaining 46 kilometers in Kiang. In the capital city of Banjul, the government reconstructed 14 kilometers of severely dilapidated roads and drains using local funds under the Banjul Rehabilitation project. In a similar development, the government has secured funding from Saudi Fund for Development, SFD, equal to $50 million to construct 50-kilometer roads in the greater Banjul area. From the Kuwaiti Fund for Arab Economic Development, Arab Bank for Economic Development in Africa, OPEC Fund for International Development and Abu Dhabi Fund, government secured $83 million to upgrade the Batin Hardin Highway into a dual carriage of 22 kilometers. This stretches from Yundum Junction to Sitting Corner. The civil work will take 24 months. Contracts have been signed as well using local funds for the maintenance, rehabilitation, and reconstruction of selected roads in the Greater Banjul area. They include Bakote Kotu Highway, Brusubi Phase 2 Access Road, Kanifing Estate Access Road, and Kololi Gamtel Access Road. The estimated cost is $90 million. On building projects, the major rehabilitation and reconstruction works at the Banjul International Airport is now complete, doubling the capacity of the main terminal building. The traffic control tower was renovated during the year and re-equipped with new communication facilities. Works are ongoing to construct a new VIP lounge. Additional building projects include construction of the governor's residence and offices in Kerewan, both of which are progressing well and due for completion this year. There are ongoing construction works for markets in various parts of the country. Among them are the fire-ravaged markets of Basse and Brikama and the Latrikunda, Soma and Farafenye markets. Finally, the ministry has developed a public building and facilities management bill and will submit it to this August Assembly for consideration. The bill proposes a new framework for the design, construction, operation and management of all government assets, both in the country and abroad. Justice, Madam Speaker, my administration will never waver in upholding the principles of good governance, democracy, the rule of law, and respect for human rights. In this respect, with support from the UNDP, the Ministry of Justice succeeded in developing a strategic plan 2021-2025 and revised the 2013 Sexual Offences Act, the 1994 Evidence Act, and the 2016 Legal Practitioners Act. In the same vein, the legislative reforms and transitional justice process commenced in 2017 resulted in the presentation of various bills to this August Assembly. These range from matters of crime, human rights, and freedom to amendments of discriminatory laws against women. We hope to have all pending bills enacted and implemented eventually. Disclosed earlier, consultation and dialogue are continuing to build consensus on a revised draft constitution. My government will provide support to this to happen amicably. On policy, the Ministry of Justice now has a National Human Rights Policy and Action Plan 2021-2025. The government ministries, departments, and agencies will implement the action plan jointly with national and international agencies and partners. Externally, the Gambia signed and deposited the instrument of ratification for the Gambia's accession to the African Regional Intellectual Property Organization on trademarks, otherwise known as the Banjul Protocol. It came into effect in May 2021. Hopefully, it will lead to more investments in the Gambia and boost revenue generation. Regarding registration of businesses and companies, the single window business registry registered a 21% drop in revenue from March and June 2020 compared to the previous year from January to August 2021. 1,500 companies were registered compared to 1,340 during the same period. Despite the challenges, the SWBR managed to collect $17,946,700 from January to December 2020. Supported by the UNDP, the ministry will review the Alternative Dispute Resolution Act 2005 this year to incorporate more progressive provision on dispute resolution. Focusing attention on legal aid, in 2020, the National Agency for Legal Aid Services tasked to provide legal services across the country received a total of 486 cases. Out of this, 147, representing 30% of the cases, were resolved. The remaining ones are ongoing. Madam Speaker, in January of this year, government extended the mandate of the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparation Commission by 6 months to enable the Commission to complete and submit its report this year. Once the report is received, government will study it for appropriate action. Internationally, we have complied with all international obligations, and also this August Assembly that we will continue to respect our legal obligations. The Judiciary 5-year strategic plan launched in January 2021 provides a solid framework to promote an independent, effective and efficient justice system. We look forward to the forthcoming donor conference with UNDP assistance to secure funding for its implementation. Health, Madam Speaker. Focusing on the pandemic, the government has sourced essential supplies and encouraged local production to meet part of the country's demand for them. As of now, my administration and our development partners have committed over $200 million on medical and non-medical supplies. As a result, the health sector was able to secure substantial face masks, gowns, goggles, IPC materials, ventilators, and other vital equipment for use countrywide. Madam Speaker. Ndemban Clinic and the Sanatorium now operate as treatment centers for people infected by the coronavirus. 3 other treatment centers, Esew, Soma and Bansam, are in use, and the construction of 8 others in various parts of the country has started. These projects were supported mainly by the United Nations agencies. The Gambia received its first batch of COVAX vaccines in record time, and the vaccination campaign has been a success. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine donated by the government of the United States is now being administered successfully across the country. Government plans to construct an emergency treatment center with 104 beds in Farato. It will have 20 fully equipped ICU rooms. The World Bank is supporting the construction works and will provide the equipment. The project is the first phase of a proposed teaching hospital in Farato with 1,500 beds and at least 17 faculties. The contracts for another set of 8 permanent treatment centers housing 40 beds have been awarded already. In this endeavor, we appreciate the support of the World Bank, SSHFC, UNFPA, and TAF Global. Honorable members, through the expanded program on immunization, the health sector is administering vaccinations against 12 preventable diseases. The government is working on mobilizing resources to secure about 2.5 million doses of vaccines for national coverage. Working with our partners, we intend to vaccinate at least 60% of the population. As part of efforts to realize and implement the concept of primary health care, PHC, in the country, PHC has increased in few key villages from 722 to 942, marking an increase of 30%. In a new development, plans are at an advanced stage to establish a national community ambulancing service with an initial fleet of 70 ambulances. Complementing this is the plan to renovate 50 facilities and construct 6 new health centers and 13 new health posts. All this will contribute tremendously to strengthening our health system. Finally, I thank the honorable members for approving the National Health Insurance Authority Bill tabled here some time ago. Department of Strategy, Policy and Delivery. Madam Speaker, With the support of UNDP and the Department of Strategy Policy and Delivery, DSPD, under my office, has made significant progress in building capacity and strengthening the much needed tools for improved analysis, information sharing, stakeholder engagement, and training in the country. During the reporting period, the department completed and circulated a comprehensive compilation of government policies to extend the reach for evidence-based policy development and implementation. The DSPD earlier this year launched a policy forum on research and policy development. As expected, the department continues to monitor the implementation of the priority projects within the MDAs for timely service delivery. They are also coordinating and monitoring the performance of the President's flagship program for accelerated community development project reported here last year. Madam Speaker, the DSPD is coordinating government's response to the 2019 TIP report recommendations. The staff is working closely with the National Agency Against Trafficking in Persons and the National Task Force on Trafficking in Persons, TIP. In this respect, I am happy to report that the upgrading of the Gambia from Tier 2 watch list status in 2020 TIP report resulted in the country's reselection for the Millennium Challenge Cooperation Threshold Program in December 2020. Madam Speaker, the SPD is also implementing an open government initiative, OGI Hour, to promote regular communication and enhance dialogue at the central and local levels. The initiatives seek to foster transparency and accountability in public policy. This is supported by the UNP's Building Fund to enhance private sector participation in national development. Her Excellency the Vice President and the DSPD continue to support the Ministry of Trade's reforms to improve ease of doing business in the Gambia. Thus far, the key milestones include providing credit rating at the Central Bank of the Gambia, bringing back the single business registry and creating a dedicated commercial court. Concluding remarks. Honorable Speaker, honorable members of the National Assembly, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as this address shows, my government has registered significant successes over the years. On the other hand, the issues raised in the address demonstrate clearly that the tasks at hand are many and quite complex. Addressing them effectively require unity, peace, stability, and the desire and will to promote and defend the nation's cause. Without the pandemic, our rate of development and achievement levels would have been much better. But as good citizens and true democrats, we should appropriately and honorably respond to challenges by remaining focused, continuing to manage our affairs, and move on undeterred. Honorable ladies and gentlemen, the national discourse on the country's political evolution has been a significant source of divergence. The executive acknowledges its importance and appreciates the various stands of social life, political standpoints, governance structures, and development approaches fed into it. With reference to this, it is worth emphasizing that my administration's performance need to be examined within the context of 2016, with due recognition given to the state of the Gambian economy at the time, the socio-political divisions, the poverty levels, the disparities, the high unemployment rate, the dysfunctional government machinery and systems, and the inappropriate use of state resources. The future is much brighter today because of the opportunities created from 2017 to date. Now we can forge ahead with insightful lessons from the past and the present. These are tangible results to build upon for consolidation and expansion, To cite a few examples, these range from the substantial gains made in the energy supply and infrastructure development, to the achievements recorded in the critical components of institutional strengthening and the reforms across all sectors: transitional justice, education and training, civil liberties, media freedom, health and agriculture development. Fortunately, our vision is clear and we have well-defined goals for future action. I will personally continue to appeal to the people's sense of civic responsibility as genuine patriotic citizens committed to democratic principles and values, to give the nation their utmost. I urge further that we engage in constructive participation in all national and community issues and events. Aside from this, let us engage in constructive dialogue and discharge our civic and social responsibilities diligently. While we individually have the freedom and right to define and express the concepts that inform our philosophies, we must be alive to other people's ideas and the values that cut across social life, religious conviction, and peaceful coexistence. Democracy guarantees voice and participation to each citizen, but it does so with conditions. Universally, multi-party democracy, which our Constitution seeks to uphold, is derived from legitimacy as defined by the law. Thus, the law must guide our actions. Unfortunately, we have noticed and experienced in some instances unjust and deliberate actions that are anti-democratic, yet they are committed in the name of democracy. As human beings, it is contrary to good citizenship to disregard our sense of justice and act on impulse, grudge, hate, revenge, or engage in crime and other negative tendencies that undermine progress and development for the people. In this context, we must appreciate the worth of every citizen, honor the labor of every worker, and reward everyone in due course. As Gambians, we must be sensitive to the pain, sorrows, and desires of those around us, and work towards making life easy and comfortable for every one of us. Concern for the welfare of all is the essence of inclusive development and progress in a democracy. I am happy that together we supported and empathized with the victims of the 7 July windstorm. This is the true Gambian spirit. Let our citizenship rights, blood and social ties, religious faith, goodwill and love for family and nation unite us. Indeed, our common values should oblige us to work together in the best interest of the country. Crucially, all these need to be understood and put into practice in accordance with the Constitution and the laws and principles that govern our institutions. For government, the legal frameworks and operational arrangements of our institutions will continue to condition the content of our national agenda and plan. Madam Speaker, in the face of COVID-19 pandemic, my government has continued to show character, and so have the people. Let us sustain these spirits. As we prepare for the December presidential election, it rests on all categories of leaders and influential persons, especially those belonging to the political parties, to preach peace and stability for another cycle of free, fair, and transparent elections. Let the Gambian citizens be allowed to vote for the candidates of their choice without pressure or hindrance. I ask the security personnel to be more vigilant than ever and ensure that the rule of law prevails. It is a duty on everyone to fight the criminals in the country and a collective responsibility to stop every form of injustice. Honorable Speaker, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I thank everyone for supporting my government, especially when it matters most. This includes our partners who have stood by us as we pursue the advancement of our dear country. In particular, I thank every Gambian citizen, either living in the country or the diaspora, and every resident of the country for making this transition period a very successful one. The dissenting voices in a democracy contribute to success if taken into consideration for positive action. This has helped me immensely as a statesman and Democrat, so I acknowledge every citizen's positive contribution to the nation. Madam Speaker, to you and all honorable members of this August Assembly, I sincerely express my appreciation and gratitude. Through the National Assembly, you made many decisions and approved numerous bills. The budget requests granted have contributed remarkably to the multiple projects my administration has implemented successfully, as well as those in progress. Thank you very much indeed. I renew my promise to the people of this beloved land and the international community to commit myself to the principles of democracy, good governance, and the rule of law, within the framework of serving my people and my country selflessly and devotedly. In this regard, I ask for your continued support and cooperation. To conclude, I thank you all for your attention and pray that the Almighty God continues to bless our efforts, protect us, and grant us peace and stability. I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for that address. And may I now request for the seconder to the motion. Honorable Member for Upper Salum. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to second the motion.
Very much. I'm sorry, only one honorable member can second the motion. I know everybody is eager, but thank you very much. It has been moved and seconded that this assembly do consider the motion on the State of the Nation address delivered by His Excellency, the President of the Republic of the Gambia. Those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those not in favor, please say no. So the ayes have it. Thank you. Honorable members, the consideration and debate proper on the motion so tabled will now be adjourned till Monday, the 13th of September, 2021, to give honorable members adequate time to peruse through the address, which will be circulated later. But before I adjourn the sitting, please allow me once more, on behalf of both sides of the Assembly, and indeed on my own behalf, to thank His Excellency, the President of the Republic, for delivering this year's State of the Nation address. Yes, it is indeed a statutory obligation of the President to address the Assembly at least once in each year, but the manner in which the address was delivered this year deserves commendation. The address has indeed outlined the programs and policies of the state. This assembly will, in the next few days, reflect and debate on the policy statement already delivered. The address will also give us an opportunity to reflect on our achievements and challenges we face as a nation that sincerely demand for national unity, cohesion, peace, and stability for the betterment and progress of our dear country. As the people's representatives, we are charged to commit ourselves to ensure that government policies and programs as outlined are thoroughly scrutinized and debated upon with due diligence. Thus, it is important for us to have a clear understanding of the government's policies, development programs, and aspirations. In a similar vein, Your Excellency, the legislature wishes to recognize in high esteem the efforts of the executive once more in introducing the National Service Bill under a special procedure to ensure it was passed with expediency. This is a testament of the executive's commitment and goodwill in strengthening the institution of Parliament for the general good of democratic governance. And on that note, I would once more express thanks and appreciation to His Excellency, the President of the Republic, for this year's State of the Nation address, and in the same vein, express thanks and gratitude to Her Excellency, the Vice President of the Republic, my Lord, the Chief Justice and Justices of the Superior Courts, Honorable Ministers, Your Excellencies, former Vice Presidents of the Republic, Honorable former Speakers of the National Assembly, Your Excellencies, members of the Diplomatic and Consular Corps, service chiefs, the Lord Mayors of Banjul and Kanifing Municipality, senior government officials here and present, regional chief executive officers, the traditional leaders, venerable religious leaders, members of the press, and all distinguished invited guests for gracing this solemn occasion in the calendar year of the National Assembly. And in addition, on behalf of both sides of this August Assembly, I wish to register our thanks to the entire country for the support and collaboration in our collective drive for nation building. To my honorable colleagues of the National Assembly, I want to reiterate that national development is an enormous task, and as a legislature, our role is very paramount. Thus, I pray that we always be guided in our deliberations by justice and conscience towards the common good. May I also thank all honorable members, the Office of the Clerk, the task force, and all those who in their various ways contributed immensely to making this day a success. I pray that Allah the Almighty bless and guide all of us. And on that note, may I once more put the question to adjourn the Assembly until Monday, the 13th of September, 2021. However, I wish to request that all guests remain seated to allow His Excellency, the President and the Vice President and honorable ministers to take leave of the chambers first. And I thank you all. And on that note, I will now put the question, be it resolved that this August Assembly do stand adjourned till Monday, the 13th of September, 2021. Those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those not in favor, please say no. The ayes have it. The Assembly now stands adjourned till Monday, the 13th of September, 2021 at 10 a.m. prompt. I thank you all for your kind attention. Please, can we allow His Excellency?
Well, that is the Speaker of the Parliament, Madam Jack Dentin, bringing an end to this State of the Nation address here at the National Assembly by the President of the Republic, His Excellency President Adama Barrow. A quite emotional, a quite powerful closing remarks there by the President, using this occasion to advocate peace and unity as Gambians head to the polls in December, but also trying to renew his government's commitment to the respect for rule of law, rights of the people. But he has also used this occasion to call on Gambians to remain united and respect each other and work towards national development. CD, a quite touching closing remarks there by the President after he had, delved in detail, touching all sectors of the country's development.
Thank you very much, Aliu. As you have rightly stated, the closing remark of President Barrow in his speech was a very somber one. He preached unity. He preached coexistence within our society, that we must be very peaceful. We're going to election. Let nobody put pressure on anybody. Let Gambians be given the opportunity to choose their choice who they want to vote for. And I think that is really a very good statement. And also, he appealed to the security forces that to go and do their job. And the rule of law must exist in this country. And I think President Barrow have made history for the first time in my lifetime to see a president coming to the National Assembly, making a deliberation few months before election, and to appeal to the people for peace and for us to go about, as far as the election is concerned, to do it properly. Not only that, he also appealed to leaders of political parties to actually preach peace. So definitely he have shifted the responsibility not only on him, but all leaders, opinion leaders, and heads of community elders.
The President is now leaving the National Assembly, accompanied by the Vice President, Dr. Aïssatou Touré, and the Speaker of the Parliament. Choi, that was a quite powerful and reassuring statement from the President.
Thank you very much, Aliu. Quite inspiring and motivational. I think the last statement that he made was quite significant in relation to the fact that don't judge me by what we inherited from 2016 in the context of 2016. I think that is very important. The Gambia, through the leadership of the President, has been transitioning from what we experienced in former President Jammeh's regime. So he has called on Gambians to come together. He is the head of state, and that is the message that we expect from a head of state, a message that inspires, a message that brings everyone together, because ultimately this is our Gambia, and for the development of the country, it is for the best interest of everyone, and the President's speech has really delivered on areas like that. So basically, he has highlighted his government's achievements, the priority areas, the lessons learned, and the challenges that his administration has faced over the past few years, and significantly from 2020 to 2021 in the face of the COVID-19 pandemic.
And I think he was quite very honest and bold to admit that despite the many developments that his government has registered since 2017, there still exist some challenges, and that's why he is calling on Gambians to remain united and wish the country well. City.
Yeah, that's right, Ali. You've said it very clearly. The President Barrow was very honest and put his hand up and said, this is what we have achieved. But these are some of our shortcomings, and this happened because of COVID-19, because of certain challenges down the road. We inherited from a bad system, a system that everybody wants change. We had a transitional agenda, we had a reform agenda. We have achieved some of those agendas, and actually for me, what touched me most, coming back again and accepting that, my government and the people of the Gambia, we would engage them to bring back the draft constitution. Mm-hmm. I think that is quite touching. So others will say, why now? But of course, we are better late than never. And we hope that the draft constitution will surface again, not to be on a life support machine, but to come back to life for Gambians to have the freedom and to have the fundamental freedom that we all wanted to go through the process of bringing the Gambia with a new constitution.
That is something that he has always maintained. Even during my interview with him, he said this constitution will be part of his legacy. So perhaps, like he said in the speech, there's still commitment. There's still that way to have it, bring back to the Parliament and pass. Joy.
I think it's very important that the President has mentioned that area, because we are in a transition process. Whether we like it or not, the system was in a very, bad situation that really needs reforming. Mm-hmm. And the constitutional review and reform process through, the constitution that has been drafted will be addressed. So the President coming back and telling us that the parties that are involved, especially political parties, the president is trying to facilitate through his government a dialogue that will bring a consensus on the draft constitution. So people need to understand that it is through this that we can have a final draft constitution that will address the wishes and the aspirations of the Gambian people when it comes to the the reform agenda that His Excellency the President through his government has promised the Gambian people to deliver during his regime. So everyone needs to come together to support their political parties. The message needs to be that we all need to come together despite our differences to make sure that we sit at the drawing board, we sit at the negotiation table. There must be compromise for us to bring a consensus, which the President has promised that the Gambian people would expect, so that we are able to deliver the constitution that we all want.
And even the TRRC, which we understand they're going to submit their final report at the end of this month, and he has made that assurance that his government will look into this report and implement where possible. Because as he always said, there's nowhere in the world where you have a commission of inquiry whatsoever implemented 100%. So at some point, it's the interest of the country that you look at, and because of that, you cannot implement everything 100%.
Yes, clearly. I think, people have been talking about, the TRRC. The TRRC, whether, it succeeds or not, this is an agenda of President Adama Barrow's government. And the fact that he is currently waiting for the report, there has been a lot of speculations whether whether his government will implement it or not, but a report hasn't come out yet. Yeah. So it is this report that His Excellency will need to have on his table with his technicians to review and then see what they can implement. So before we know what the future holds, I think we need to wait until the report comes out, and the President, through his government institutions and ministers, will review this the report, so that they're able to bring the right measures to address the justice.
I will come back to you, Choi, for the wallet person. I understand my colleague Esonyas is on standby to interview people outside. But before then, Sidi, just in Mandinka briefly, President Fele Alet Diamo Bang. Iti aja nyadile.
Baraka bake Aliou, President Barrow, kuma kangol mim fojang, kuma kangol lo miyalon ko safu ko nafa jama ayolo fo. Anno ngay bankero fananke do ko jama la miyalon ko ala masakunda safu ko ayake. Bari ala kachabe kono ay tandi Gambian ko lako. Nasiyo jande amanke ko nga femfen hamme atimmatale na to dolu manketale bar miyo sabolon kolea membe dunia kono surtout nyum courant me ka covid-19 wokata kurmelo nga keda kolea koti dunia kono andum o mantul fanantu koma bar wo kolea ko nyawnya nga kato kele ka yirwa ke karambon la karola tanko la karola anim fanan jaral bunda la karola ay hammo soto pour kan leptane jamallo anim fanan kan leptano la do ko fanan ka yirwandi min keda tanin na fana na ko silol la karola ay bunda jamal fo miyalan ko be do kol ke kan surtout santola ka silol fana doku an hanina kombo tuba banko do fana ay bundal fo miyalan ko silol fana miyalan ko be doku la wolbe mu kuler miyalan ko nyaatu talo woron safo ko ay hammo mi soto ana nganiyo mi soto ay atandi Gambia dingol la le woto Gambia dingol bi wollo multi miyalan ko ibalo kuma kaw nyumutala ka ke fendi miyalan isa nafa soto je anata ko na loi buko miyalan ko mba kato ke kam pour ka finti men keda 2020
I understand my colleague Ansumana Esonyasi is currently on standby outside. So if you're just hearing me, what is happening outside?
Is especially in my constituency is infrastructural development as well, because I think my constituency is a populated constituency. Everybody knows is in the urban center. Infrastructural development is what we need as of now, and as well as youth employment opportunity for young people within the constituency. This is what I want the government to concentrate on more for the people of my constituency as of now. And I think from here against next year, we'll be able to see those things coming up, because I am doing engagement with the Minister of Youth and Sports, as well as so many other ministries, especially the Minister for Works, to ensure that areas that are flooded within my constituency are constructed, within due course here.
Very thanks, Honorable.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
That's my colleague Ansumana Esonyasi. We are speaking to Honorable Abdullah Sise of all Union constituency. Well, Choi, let me just get back to you, just briefly in Wolof. You've heard from the president. Si linga juta dagom si puahi president bi, lo si jele yow.
President bi lu mu wax dafa nekk lu nga xamanteni amal na njëriñ Gambien si yëpp, parce que président bi moo jiite réew mi yëpp, te si waxam wax na pour nit yëpp ñu booloo nekk benn. wax na pour sécurité bi tamit ñu nekk on standby ñu préparer parce que ñu ngi ñëw si dem elections. te dafa nekk lu nga xamante ni dafa am njëriñ bu baax a baax because election baa ngay ñëw ñëpp dañ war a booloo nekk benn pour ñu war a mun a am election boo xam ne mucc na il faut que jàmm am te président bi wax na ay wax yu nga xamante ni try na pour mu indi Gambien si yëpp ñu booloo su ko defee jàmm mun a am nga xam ne dinañ mun a am election bu nga xamante ni mucc na bu mucc si ayib so waxaat na tamit si lu demee ni justice tamit mu ngi wax si affaire TRRC bi waaw TRRC bi nekk na lu nga xamante ni nguuri Adama Barrow ñoo ko indi woon waaye léegi tey ñu indi report si président bi so président bi joxe na kàddoom.
Sorry, Choi. I understand SO is on standby. SO?
With the speech, I think by and large he has dealt with his government the best they could. I think this is their best, and they are showing us their best. But in my opinion, this is not the best that the country really deserves. We need something bigger than this. And if you look at the area of infrastructural development, yes, that is good. But if, most of the projects are loans, World Bank, ADB, Badia, Abu Dhabi, Kuwait, etc. So it's like you are indebting the country. You are making the country more and more indebted. So we need to look inwards. How do we generate resources for the country to be able to carry out some of the projects on our own rather than just taking loans and loans and loans? Eventually, you can hear, if we hear him, he's saying that they have pushed the debt repayment, the interest payment on the debts, which has gone to the point of 8-point-something billion. And in 2 years, you are going to find it there. In the end, instead of paying something like 5 billion, you will end up paying 10 billion when it comes. And when the economy did not grow correspondingly to that, then you are making the country to become more and more to suffer.
You're concerned with the debt, but come next year, what would you want to see changed?
Well, what I expect the government to do is to invest. Look into our budget. There are so many things that we are doing. Every year we will put furniture. Every year we'll put a lot of transports. Every year we'll put so many things in there which we could limit and then ensure that that money goes into the productive base of the economy. Once we do that, we'll be able to, we are producing groundnut. We are producing fruits. We are producing so many crops. We can look at one of the crops, like groundnut, and ensure that we create the necessary industry. That will give us the comparative advantage to be able to also compete in the international market. But what we are doing now is just importing and exporting almost nothing. And the re-export is not also working very well, as you said. Because if you say the re-export is mainly to Mali. And Senegal is also creating a lot of blockages to ensure that that re-export trade suffers. So we must be able to build our industry to be able to create, finished products that we can sell outside to be able to get foreign exchange for our development. Yeah, thank you very much.
Woolly East. Before we went on to SO, something interesting happened to the city, quite historic. SO Choi, when the president was delivering his statement, you had one of the MPs, interjecting and trying to raise an objection. Something that somebody had never thought of in the last 22 years.
I mean, it's the beauty of democracy, one. And two, I think the honorable member actually did not do his homework well. Because if he had, he would have not made point of order as far as what was actually happening. The standing order is very clear. You can clap, but you can beat the table. And actually that's what they're doing. But I think that went into Barrow's favor. You can see Barrow started his speech on a bumpy, I would say very bumpy, But after that, you can see he really enjoyed, his speech. He really enjoyed his speech. And he was doing it with laughing all through. So definitely, I think that went into Barrow's favor, and it gives Barrow the confidence that what he's doing actually is passing the message. So I think definitely the honorable member got it all wrong. He needs to go back to the drawing board to understand the procedures of the National Assembly. That is definitely what I have seen. But it actually, I must repeat it, it went into Barrow's favor, In fact, you can see him laughing. In his body language, he was very happy that actually, because the guy was distracting him. Couple of instances, Barrow had to stop because he actually doesn't know what was happening. So, he got distracted. He was on the floor and he had to, actually check what is actually happening. But once he knew that this guy doesn't know what he's doing, I'm sorry to say this, and he really enjoyed it. So I think definitely the beauty of democracy is there, but the guy doesn't actually know what he was doing.
Sure, something came up in his statement. He talked about the issue of the civil service reform. He said the cabinet has approved the new pay and grading. It's now approved the review of the pay and grading system. How important is this thing for you? Knowing the fact that so many civil servants have been complaining about low pay and others even complain about, despite the fact that there was a salary increment, they still believe the gap is still there.
It is quite significant development, right? Something that a lot of people in the civil service will celebrate, because when the president came to power, there was a salary increment, 50% salary 50%. Increment. And 100%
now, for the pensioners.
Yes, 100% for the pensioners. So, a new initiative coming to review the pay and grading system, of the country and the pension scheme, etc. It is something that is really worth commendation for the president for the government of the Gambia. So I think it will go a long way towards benefiting people who are working in the civil service of this country who deserve better pay.
Well, musiba ngon men dara QTV ha joni bon do National Assembly do another president o parti bila war wade ko his termination address 2021 e hala makko o nyaage gab jam heledi by the election of fandi o tori fo mballotira ngona gottum te anda dal election arat yawta kono ko Gambia tan woni fof ene fo ngonen gottum ballorten te o holri anniya makko pour continuer dal ligade leydi pour hamme mo an pour Gambenabe o wama hebde way o nyaagima Gambena fof be balla mom pour ida dal ko hamme ko leydi o wadum hebde sedi fenkata we said it in English covering president Diamo kan ngaje deputy waya kuntu mona ma nyemira jamela watore
okay. Yeah, Tonya, Minketa deputy Bungola, Minketa Seni Jawara.
No, Seni Toure.
Seni Toure.
Jara
East, Seni Toure. Akira Kule de Mialonko, Nenema Jo Mosafoko. Parce que président be Kachaka Wato Mena, Ngamara Mboranyen Sanji Moamin Konajang, Mota Nindo Ninkela. Hanada Lua Bibulu, ita Hanyala Kake. Bare Seni Toure Minke. Fahamola mankita député bungola tamandir nyala parce que député bungola nenyin kacha sifa be kering ila loi mi yalango député bumbe sembere wala même standing order ti wala la loi lu mbe tol tamandila ay bankero ko ita bulo ko sinola baraka tabulo nyin lipa tana wotana tola wo mu kule mi yalango loi mambala wala ila siran loi mambala wala wor ateman ko faham ka tandi ay kebaro minke parce que atela kebaro ni wolon ka fako ma quand même ke kan anyanda dandilal bar bring ay kato nyinke kaja pro speaker of the house Mariam Dentin pro ay londiroke president la karango nyina ala kacha nyina pour yana tan nyininka mun dalile babul anara dalilo min fo wa dalilo manke dalilti mi yalon kon safako nyande president nyanda londila walla bari kaje tumomena baroba ala kacha ke ko wato nsafa be dunkan kacha kono malon fabe se wala fada se wala
barokuna kolam
bar bring kuma kan nyum findida fo baro ya lon ko tanya nyimbe minke ka malon yaje baro continuer andalo continuer kono afango ni la soto nabe kacha kay kajabe jelela anu fana tinna fana mil fambe le paroka nindere ka kiline ke nana tanne ke wodon safa ko seni toure ko nan ko lon kodi bobdundo ya
toure ko ko le baro ko nan ko so avec well in brief what are you expecting in the coming year the expectations
yes in the coming year what I am expecting is what every Gambian is expecting. We've heard from the president the development, the achievements that he has. My expectation is more development, especially the centralization of development in the rural areas, which currently under the administration of Adama Barrow has been ongoing. You've heard from the achievements that the government has made in terms of infrastructure development, roads, hospitals, many of them, development being centralized to the rural area for every taxpayer to benefit from. So what I am expecting is a peaceful election And at the end of the day, well, when the president succeeds into his second term, we expect that, the developmental needs of the country will be addressed.
Thank you very much. And Sidi, finally.
Yeah, thank you very much, Aliu. For me, he talked about the civil service reform in terms of wages and stuff. I think it is time that we have the minimum wage in the Gambia, because if you looked at grade 12 the take home of a grade 12 person is approximately $10,000, $12,000. That's quite very minimal. And I think also I want to say, like Choi have said, more development, infrastructural development, all that. The president, I don't know whether isolation was. He did not mention much as far as the land issue is concerned. He talked about what they are going to do with the land, but the land commission is very important, because we know as far as the Gambian security is concerned, land is a threat to our national security. And the other thing I would expect is the debt. How do we manage the debt? That is very important, because defined debt payment does not mean the debt is going off. It is going to be there. So we must have a concrete plan to really look at the land reform and to manage the debt of this country. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sidi. Well, viewers, I'm afraid with that we come to the end of this live broadcast from here at the National. Atma Barrow was here to deliver his State of the Union address. Is a constitutional requirement. Well, on behalf of my panelists, Modlamin Choi, Sidi Sise, our uncle Tijan Masane Sise, and my colleague Eso Nyasi, and the entire production team, we thank you so very much for watching this live broadcast. And then we hope you will follow us as we bring you more interesting programs. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Light. From the beginning of time, light has been there.
It is integral to our survival and to our way of living.
We need light to work,
to build,
to grow things, and even to see our loved ones.
Light makes things easier and better.
So QCell has changed the way you buy Q-Power to make it easier and more accessible.
You can now access the same service quickly and get your cash power tokens instantly with the new QCell Q-Power code.
To light up your world, simply dial *363#.
With a touch of your fingers,
with ease and convenience from the comfort of your home or office,
you can bring light into your world instantly with *363#.
Q-Power, lighting your world.
QCell Sunyabus.
We innovate, others follow.
The best product in town is back. QCell's MiFi router. Get the best MiFi in the country for just $2,800 and connect up to 15 users with 4G internet speeds and a long-lasting battery life. So rush now to any of our customer care locations and get the best for less while stocks last. For more info, call our customer care on 111. QCell, Sinubus, the Gambia's quality network. We innovate, others follow.
Want more in your bundle? At QCell, the biggest, fastest, and most reliable mobile operator, we've got you covered with Sunyu Bundle. With Sunyu Bundle, dial *303# and get the bundle of your choice. Sunyu Bundle, affordable, fast, and reliable. QCell, we innovate, others follow.
the Smiling Coast, and I am Ibrahim Balde. Wherever you're watching us from, welcome. This program, remember, is officially and proudly sponsored by the Gambia Tourism Board. Have you ever visited the National Museum of the Gambia before? Well, today we'll take a tour of the National Museum in Banjul and, of course, see some of the things that we have in there. Well, these are some of the materials kept by our ancestors, and of course they belong to them. And of course, Auntie Jainaba of the National Center for Arts and Culture will be taking us around. It's important for us to take a look at these things. Time to time, we take a walk to the National Museum and look at some of the things that we have in there to learn, to reflect how our ancestors used to live. What we do, follow us right inside. We'll go right inside to check some of the things we have in there. We'll be right back. Well, viewers, we are with Auntie Jainaba, the National Center for Arts and Culture, and she'll be taking us around the National Museum to see some of the amazing things we have in there. Well, we have a whole lot of things to show you in here. Welcome to the program, Auntie Jainaba.
Good afternoon, Ibrahim, and thank you for having me.
Where are we going to start from today?
We are starting from the exhibition of Banjul, Batos Banjul, and the exhibition seeks to interpret the history and culture of Banjul from the pre-colonial era to the present Banjul, which is the capital, and it was also called Batos, but later changed to Banjul, and it is with the aid of objects, artist impressions, maps, sketches, etc. Yes, this is what we have to show here.
Okay, what do we have here?
This is an aerial view. It's the location and the aerial view of Banjul. As you know, Banjul is the capital of the Gambia, and Gambia is in West Africa, and it is surrounded by Senegal by 3 sides, and the Gambia has only the mouth, the mouth of the river. Yes, that's the map of the Gambia.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, that's fine. And what do we have again?
The AU touch 50 years of membership on the OAU or AU. The Gambia was formally admitted into the Organization of African Unity, that is OAU, in October 1965, 7 months after the gaining of independence on 18 February 1965. However, as OAU was formed in 25th May 1963 in Addis Ababa, the question is asked, what role did Gambia play in the formation of this continental body? The facts are that the Gambia indeed played a crucial role in the founding of the OAU. Less than 2 years later, the Gambia became independent as the 35th member of the OAU. The OAU benefited from Gambia's input. First, Gambia was represented at the 3rd OAU summit in Ghana in November 1965, and the Gambian Prime Minister attended and was accompanied by O.A. Jara, Assistant Secretary, and the Minister of External Affairs, and A.B. Njai, Minister of State for External Affairs. At the meeting, Gambia contributed to the OAU Liberation Fund, which was created to help liberation fighters in Angola, Guinea-Bissau, Rhodesia, South Africa, etc. Also, the Gambia was so regular in paying to this fund that in 1968, it was elected a member of the Liberation Committee of the OAU at the summit in Algeria. Furthermore, the Gambia henceforth became only one of the very few countries which never owed areas to the Liberation Committee. Recently, of course, the Gambia's key role in the formation of the AU at the State Summit in September 1999 and the very successful hosting of the 2006 AU Summit in Banjul are 2 among many achievements of this country in the pursuit of African unity. And this is the AU touch for the celebration of the AU, OAU and AU. Household utensils that we use since in the colonial times, and our mothers have them in the homes up till now. My mother